Niaje? Ni tabia gani hiyo yenye umeshindwa kubadilisha kabisa? Yaani umetry kuiwacha imekataa kabisa. You've tried almost everything lakini imekataa. Ushajiuliza shida ni nini? Why are you trying so hard to change? Welcome to Book Plug. This is episode 7. Mimi naitwa Kim. Ama siku hizi wanaita Street Philosopher and I'm here. I'm so excited bana at finally tuko episode 7. I hope unaendelea kuenjoy from episode 1, episode 2, episode 2 mpaka episode 6 and now this one episode 7. You know 7 is a special number, especially watu kama sisi watu wa Manchester United na respect sana 007 Cristiano Ronaldo. Anyway, welcome to this episode and today I want us to talk about change. Yeah. And the book of reference ama inspiration yetu leo inatoka kitabu inaitwa Who Moved My Cheese? Yes, it's here by Spencer Johnson. Hii kitabu ilisuggestiwa with one of our very youngest fan. Actually, naweza sema she's the youngest of all my fans nishaikuwa na wao. She suggested, she texted, akasema niaje, the next review you're doing on your podcast, kindly consider Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. So nika decide, okay, because it's a special case and then it's an episode 7, so it's also special. Why don't I take this challenge and take it? So first step, nikaenda kwa library yangu, actually bookstore, not library, nikaenda kwa bookstore and then got a copy. And the first experience with the book, ilikuwa, am I really having the right copy? Because it's too light. Nikiangalia pages hapo, naona it's even less than 100 pages. Kajiambia, wah, hapa kimeniuma. And I had confirmed to the fan that I'm going to do a review of Who Moved My Cheese. Sasa manze na shanga, hii kitabu ina sound yani, inakaa ni kadogo. Nitapata vitu hapo ndani kweli. I almost judged the book by its weight, which is not very okay. So I decided, you know what, let me go through it and then tuone tunapata nini. So fast forward, tukaenda naye kijani and then started reading, of course, kawaida venye si usoma, we journal down so that we make sure the points stick. I don't know how you read. By the way, how do you read? I hope you also make down some notes for you to remember and also to share with your friends. Long story short, I read this book and it took me 2 hours to read this book. Actually 1 hour because I took a very long break in between. After nimefika katikati, nikateka break, nikaenda kwanza kidogo kutulia and then came back and read it. So approximately 1 hour. It was a 1 hour read. But bado nilikuwa na ish. Hii kitabu iko na weight kweli. Ikabidi nimeingia kuangalia reviews, some of the reviews online, watu wamesoma, watu wanasema nini about it. And then I found I wasn't the only person who was complaining about the size ama the length of this book because it's less than 100 pages. Alafu kwa ndani pia kuna it's a well written book whereby kuna mpaka image ziko hapo, so unapata page kama moja imepigwa image hapo. So ukisubtract hizo images na nini unaweza pata around maybe 60 pages this book. But what? This book, as small as it is, it carries a lot of message and very, very important message that sisi wote tunahitaji kujua. And that is change. And that's what I want us to discuss today. Change. Why is change so hard to go through? Ama, why do we struggle so much to change? Or why do we struggle so much to accept change? And by change, I mean change from anything. A change of your behaviors, the habits, a change of a situation. Moving on is also change. And after reading this book, I realized that human beings are more afraid of change, even more than they're afraid of death. This is what I mean. Actually, even death is a form of transition because it's a transition from this one life to the other one. And I realized that human beings are more afraid of change more than they're afraid of, or let me put it this way, human beings are scared of change or changing more than they're scared of death or anything in the world. Why am I saying this? A simple test was done in this book by the author, and then he asked 4 people. Friends walikuwa wamepatana gathering, and then one of them asked them, do you think you are afraid of change or you are scared to change? Only one hand went up. And then he reframed the question and then asked, do you think other people are scared to change? And all the other 3 hands ikaenda juu. So everybody believed that niaje watu wengine they fear to change but not themselves. So I got another worrying analogy of change from this book, that human beings, we live in denial about change. We live in denial about change. We don't want to change, number one. We are scared to change, and we live in the greatest denial. We don't know how to change. We don't know if we are ready to change. We don't know if change will bring whatever we want to experience in life. So hii kitabu iko na a very nice story, as brief as it is, a very nice story about change. Of course, as book plug tulisema we are not going to discuss point blank kila kitu yenye iko hapa ati tuseme page 4 inasema hivi na hivi. So that encourage you uende uchukue hii kitabu and then you'll find a very interesting story about change, well described, well put. I mean, kama naweza kuonyesha kidogo, you see they're using even imagery hapa ndani, wamechora mambo yako hapo, so it's easy to understand. You don't have any other reason, go get this book, you won't regret. It's very short, especially kama way you struggle with reading, or maybe you are cultivating that reading culture, you might start with this one. It's a good one. It's brief and then detailed. It's so direct to the point. Anyway, back to my point. So in the book, they give a story of change. It's actually a journey of friends trying to embrace change and trying to change. But I'm not here to discuss that particular story. That is for you to read. I'm here because I got inspired after reading this book. And my inspiration is, why are we fighting so hard to change? Or why do we struggle so hard to embrace change? So I'm here with 4 points that I got inspired after reading this book. 4 points as to why you struggle so much with change and you fear change with all your life. Tuziangalie moja kwa moja, and then after that I know you'll be convinced uende uangalie kitabu, uende uisome. So the first reason why you struggle so much with change is comfort zone. Of course najua umesikia nikisema unaza hii ni obvious, tumesikia hii story comfort zone nini, but I want us to discuss something within comfort zone. Number 1 is the will and the glue enye inakuwa touch, yani you can't move out of your comfort zone. Of course tumesikia a lot of life coaches, motivational speakers, our parents, kila mtu chuo tulikuwa tunaambiwa, if you want to succeed you must be uncomfortable with your comfort zone. You must move out of your comfort zone for you to be successful, which is okay. But for the longest time, I had a lot of issues with everyone who was telling me that. Everyone who's telling me, for you to be successful, you have to be uncomfortable with your comfort zone. Nilikuwa nashindwa, mtu ananiambia I must be very uncomfortable with my comfort zone, but yet aniambi how. They don't give me a formula as to how to move out of the comfort zone. Of course, we all know it's very, very difficult to move out of the comfort zone. So I was taking offense. Are they giving solution kweli? Because I want solution, man. But reading this book confirmed to me that, you know what, I was wrong in all aspects. I was totally wrong, because nobody's going to help you move out of the comfort zone. And this is the reason why. Because when you are getting into those holes, you applied a formula. And this formula, we peke yako ndio unajua hii formula uliitumia kivipi ukapatikana kwa hiyo situation yenye uko. So our main problem as human beings, we get ourselves into deadly holes, into darkest of holes, and then expect someone else to come and take us from the hole. Of course, we have life coaches wenye wanajaribu kutusaidia, but you are the person who will get yourself out of those because you understand the formula. And most of the cases, ukiangalia vifiti, you find that the formula that you used, ama the formula that you applied to get into those comfort zone, or the holes, the dark holes that you're fighting to get out of them, is just the reverse. If you reverse the formula, you'll end up at the better side, or where you want to be. So okay, perhaps maybe I was wrong requesting, looking forward for a formula for me to maybe to move out of the comfort zone. So that is number 1. The reason why I say that I was wrong, and nobody is going to move you out of a comfort zone unless you move yourself out of the comfort zone. The other thing on comfort zone is the will. You know, you can visit any therapist, you can visit any life coach, but if your will is at 0%, nothing will happen. I've learned that will is almost the major ingredient for change. Your will. Kama una will, manzi hakuna change yenye itaingia hapo. This is what I mean. A friend of mine back then alikuwa anashare na mimi, ananiambia our body, actually I share instance za 2 friends. One of them told me that all our bodies are channel for comfort, channel to comfort. Yani even our brains inatakanga kuwa comfortable. So we all end up in a comfort zone. So any attempt to get out of this comfort inakuanga met with a very, very strict resistance from the body itself. Another friend of mine told me that will is the strongest thing that human beings were given. Of course, even in the Bible, we confirm that, whereby God gave human beings free will. We have free will. Yani, he created us. He has control over everything we are doing and our lives. But he does not interfere with our free will. We are free to do everything we want. Of course, even unaamka asubuhi, you pray, and then it's bad to sin. and then you go and sin. God will not strike you with thunder. Thunder will not strike you. Simply because God respects your will. So come down to this one, the will, where it applies here on moving out of your comfort zone. If your will is weak, we all know that change is necessary and you really need change. You see, for instance, you want to change, you want to move, transition from a very toxic relationship, and you want to change. We all know that, yes, we need to change. But you find it so hard. Every now and then mnaachana na yeye, unaenda 2 weeks, unarudi tena, unafanya nini, unaenda unarudi. Why is that so? It's simply because you don't have the will. You've applied everything else, but the will is not there. The will is still below par. It's the percentage is too low for the change to occur. So that's where you find you struggle so much moving out of your comfort zone. And this applies not only for a relationship. Baka story is a job. You want to quit your job. Maybe the environment is too toxic for you there, and you find that nikitoka hii job manze, nikienda huko nje, maybe I'm going to suffer. Of course, naye kusuffer utasuffer, sita kudanganya. We're going to suffer if you quit your job without good plan and a proper will and the reason, a good reason as why you are quitting, and a good plan generally. But because you are so comfortable there, you've worked there maybe for 10 years, and everything has been working so well, apart from some aspects such as maybe the toxic environment, the boss is too harsh maybe. So you fear moving out because the will is not there. So my friend, if you want to move out of your comfort zone, stop blaming others. Stop depending on other people to come and take you out of the holes, the dark holes. Stop being entitled. If you read this book, you'll find where some character was so much entitled, such that akamwayeni aje hata change yani, because something changed, and then akasema ni aje, I'm not going to change. I'm going to stay here until I find, or until that thing that went, come and find me right here. He decided he's not going to change 100%. And he stayed in his comfort zone. I'm very sure if you read that book, you'll find that point. I don't want to pinpoint the exact point, but we are talking about cheese. Yeah, so go read about that book and then you'll relate. The second point as to why you are struggling so much with change, or maybe the reason why you're finding change to be so hard for you to embrace, is your belief system. Your belief system is holding you back totally. And I think we discussed this in a certain episode, I believe episode 6, if I'm not wrong, where we're talking about the belief that your mind operates from the belief system, and you may feed akili yako from all over. So you find that most of the time, the things that we fear happening, okay, let me put it this way. Our brains, especially the part of the brain whereby fear is located, where we have fear in our brain, has that ability of exaggerating the imagination, exaggerate the imagination to a point yenye, yani, that instance, the imagination itself is too scary as compared to the instant hata kama inge happen. Yani you find that maybe unaogopanga, manze ni aje, nikiambia budangu mi sitaki kwenda shule nataka nifungulie biz, hata ataninyonga, atanikata na panga. But if you try give that scenario, ama ukimwambia hiyo story una find he was so easy with it, muna reason out. So you find that the fear in our minds are so great, man. The imagination inakuwa too great as compared to the real situation, and that come with the belief system. Beliefs zenye tunakuanga naye hapa that tumeweka kwa akili, ni aje, it's bad, I must work 9 to 5. I have nothing against that, but it's just an example I'm giving. We all know that ni fiti kuamka asubuhi and then unaenda job, una work job mpaka jioni unarudi. It's a routine. You go over and over again. It's a repetitive. You go over and over again. So you find that is what you believe, and that umeishi, ulizaliwa ukapata, your parents are going through the same system. Your uncles, everybody is just doing the same thing. And then pia wewe now, you're here, you've graduated, you've got your papers, and you can't think about anything else but working 9 to 5. And then you get that job, you work that job, and then you find that it's not your thing. But because of the belief system, nikikwiti job enyewe naenda kusafa hapa nje, I'm going to have it rough. Hapa nje naenda kuteseka to the maximum. So you find it so hard for you to quit simply because your belief imekuingia. And it's not only about the jobs ama nini. Even we struggle with our very own personal behaviors na vitu kama hizo due to our belief system. You believe that if you have done something wrong, you become so harsh on yourself. You become too rough. You end up becoming so much frustrated on yourself by your behaviors, to a point that, manze, you don't even deserve, you feel as if you don't deserve the change That's what I'm talking about, the belief system. You have to change your belief system so that any change that you want in life, you don't change our experience. Change kama to experience. You want to change, you want maybe to, let's use an example like you want to move out of a toxic relationship, and then you have that belief that unajua ni aje, huku nje, if I move out, it's hard for me to find a good partner and I'm going to suffer. So hata ukitoka, you will still come back simply because that belief is still there. So if you want to change, the reason number 2, I found that you have to kill that belief system. You have to first operate on your belief system. You have to tune it. Ipelekane na change. Ndio change ikikuja ina apply on that. So I'll go to the reason number 3 as to why una struggle sana na change. And the other reason is the fear of unknown. Of course, I found initially find to be the main reason why majority of people are struggling so much with change. Not even the comfort zone, not even the belief system, but majorly the fear of unknown. Unaogopa sana. Yani unaogopa, if I try change, what will happen next? What will happen to me? Because I'm used to this situation. If I try, let's say I'm a podcaster, if I try change and start my own online radio, will people listen to me? Will my audience still relate with me? And in this book, I found that the author is talking about the most important aspect of change. Most of the time, we expect the results when we approach change. We expect the end result. We forget about the process itself. And he's talking about the process whereby one character really enjoyed the process of it until to a point that he had his confidence back. So what I learned from this book is that once you start enjoying the process of change, everything works to your advantage, because now you regain your comfort, your confidence, and then you start realizing even the smallest aspect of life, not only the result. For instance, let's give an example, the same example that we've been using about maybe someone who is working in an office 9 to 5. You've quit your job, but the only thing that you think is the end result, when you'll get a good job whereby there's no pressure, whereby the boss is not very, very toxic, to a point that umesao maze after quitting, right now you have peace of mind. Nobody is killing your esteem. Nobody is messing around with your confidence, but you don't focus on that. You're looking forward to that day that you'll get a good job and get back to earning and receiving that salary. And the instance, maybe you're moving out of your toxic relationship, and then you only look forward to a day that you'll get a better partner. You forget that nowadays hakuna mtu mwenye ananisumbua. Nowadays hakuna mtu mwenye anafanya ni feel unworthy. Nowadays I'm confident. Yani, you don't focus. We only focus on the result. And that's why you find it so hard, because we don't give ourselves chance to grow. We don't give ourselves chance to experience what the change is bringing to us. And by that, we find change to be very, very hard. That is the fear of unknown. There's an example I really enjoy giving. It's found in Proverbs. Let me just confirm. I think it's found in Proverbs 20 what? Proverbs, najua unashangaa, huyu kijana anasomanga Bible kweli? Well, let me give you. It's Proverbs 22 verses 13. And today I carried my Bible. It's right here. So, wacha tuangalie hii Proverbs inasema nini. I'll be quick. Proverbs inakuanga wapi? Wacha tuone, karibu nipatikane. Wacha tuone Proverbs 22. Proverbs 22. You should buy a Bible also. So Proverbs 22. 22 verses what? Why am I forgetting this? Very soon we'll start a church here. 22:13. So Proverbs 22:13 says, a lazy man says, there's a lion outside. There is a lion outside. I shall be slain in the streets. There's a version, Bible yangu CEO. There's a version I read somewhere. Ama sijui nisomewa na nani, but a version says, the lazy man says, there is a lion on the street. And then the Bible repeats, he said, there is a lion in the streets. And then he continues sleeping. We all know that repetition when it comes to writing. I'm not a writer, but I know this in Lisoma kwa shule. If a point is repeated, that means emphasis. Ame-emphasize, ameongeza uzito. Ni kama venye tuwanga naambiwa, mtu akwambia, wewe, arudi tena, wewe. Enye unajua, that's serious. That's the amla kwamba nitakuchapa, and then nitakuchapa, akirudia twice, you know, there is some weight to it. So this verse, the reason I'm relating to it is, huyu jamaa aliona simba. Aliona simba kwa dream yake, and then actually anaiona mpaka ikiroa. A very fierce lion na manywele zake imepanua imeroa. Yani, he was scared. Actually, the Bible says he continued sleeping. Hakuenda job. Simba haikukua. It wasn't there. The lion was only in his mind. It's just the fear of unknown. Imedevelop kwa akili yake deadly sana to a point that yeye hawezi toka. Ameiona. So that is another reason why manze unashindangwa kuchange. Umeng'ang'ana na change miaka yako yote. And by change, you know I mean what? Namaanisha hizo vitu zote zenye unajua tuna try kuchange. Sisi wote we are also having something that you want to change. Maybe you want to fight a habit. Maybe you want to fight, maybe you want to change a situation. Maybe you want to better your life. Everything. You're struggling because manze, you fear so much. You fear you'll die. For instance, another friend of mine aliambia niaje aliquit job yake. A dream job that he had worked at, tulisoma naye chuo moja. So he got a chance akapata job. And then all of a sudden he quit. And then as he was sharing, the amount of money that he had received, alikuwa amework for 1 year. No, 9 months. Alikuwa amework for 9 months, receiving a salary. And then tukibonga naye after amequit now, akanipatia story yake. So after amequit, the first few months depression ikampiga vibaya sana. Actually alirudi mpaka huko kuomba ruhusa tena apatiwe hiyo kazi, of course walimunyima, of course. And depression ikaingia for almost 2 months. And then after that, he got on his feet back. And then he shared something that shook me. Akaniambia, in these 9 months, actually alikuwa anashare hiyo story na mimi after 9 months after quitting now. Akaniambia, in those, not 9 months, actually aliwaka huko for 9 months and then akaquit. Now tukapatana naye akaanza kushare na mimi hiyo story after a year. So he worked for 9 months and then quit. Depression for 2 months and then tukapatana naye after 1 year. So it's relatively tuseme 1 year after he quit his job. And then he shared to me akaniambia, do you know what? That the amount of money I've received this period yenye nimekuwa sijakuwa job ama sijakuwa employed with someone is 4 times the amount of money nili ever receive for the 9 months yenye nilikuwa hapo. But he was scared. Actually ananiambia, I really wanted to quit for the very first time, the very first month nilikuwa hapo, nikang'ang'ana, the second month, the third month, until the 9th month. That's when I got my courage and then quit. And because of fear, maybe perhaps kama angequit earlier kidogo and then apply the same methods zenye ameapply mpaka akapata hiyo do yote yenye alikuwa ananiambia amepata 4 times of what he had earned for the 9 months, maybe angekuwa ana earn a lot of money. And then he talked about also the freedom of he really wanted freedom. Actually the first thing that he was looking for is not the money, it's not the amount of money that he made. He was looking for freedom. And then money came as a result. So he told me as he was enjoying the process, to him even the depression period was the process. And that's when he realized niaje, there's too much to enjoy when we're experiencing change, not only the end result. Right now, angalia atafutangi job. Sisi ndio tunatafuta job huku nje. Atafutangi job. He's comfortable. Ako comfortable because he fought that fear. He fought that fear of unknown. The fear of unknown, manze. Najua ume-experience mahali, umeisikia sana ikiongelewa, but manze is another reason why you struggle so much with change. You struggle to change. You try to change. Manze unaona utakufa. Unaona manze nikiachana na huyu partner wangu, huku nje manze sitapata mwingine kama huyu. So by that unavumilia, you end up being mistreated vibaya sana. It's too unfortunate manze, mpaka sisi watu very young squeeze unapata ati kuna manze kuna domestic violence. Sisi very young people. I don't sisemi ati na gratify, but kitambo ilikuwa bit rare kusikia violence manze, unasikia violence kwa a young couple, watu wanapigana. Hiyo ni vitu tulikuwa nasikia maybe with watu wazee ndio walikuwa vitu kaa hiyo, but nowadays unapata mtu amemistreatiwa, wengine wanapigana and then they still go back due to fear of unknown. You know what, get that courage and move out. You won't die. Of course utaumia kidogo, but you won't die. Of course ukienda na open mind, you will enjoy the process more, and then the results afterwards, it will be worth it. The last point, because the book is also brief, that will sema pia hapa tunataka kufanya mambo brief, because unajua you are very busy, you don't have a lot of time. So we're going to finish with the last point. The last point is the expectation we have. I think I've also mentioned it hapo juu tukiongelea hizo point, but the expectation and the intention of change. Why do you want to change? Why do you want to change? What is your expectation? Una expect nini? We find that we expect results too soon. Very, very instant. Una expect niaje, I'll get out of this job and immediately I'll get another job. I'll start a business and it'll make me a lot of money and I'll be comfortable and I'll have everything that I've ever wanted with me, to end up ikikosa kukuja. For instance, umesema umekuja job yako, umeanza biashara, and then biz is a new venture for you. Haujui dynamics za biashara, and then you expect in the next 2 months you'll have settled, kila kitu itakuwa ina work, utakuwa unapata even double do yenye ulikuwa unapata wakati ulikuwa employed, only to find that you are into the 7th month, nothing is happening, you are so much with a lot of debts, madeni zinakuandama, the business is not doing so well, and then you become so frustrated, and then you go back seeking that job the same way my friend alijaribu kwenda kuangalia ile job. You expect so much to come so soon. Hii book inasema huyu jamaa alifika mahali anaanza kujichekelea. He found a formula of laughing at his own problems. Anajichekelea yeye mwenyewe, akaivia anajichekelea, anasema nyewe I'm expecting too much. And then by that he realized that he has to work, he has to do a lot. So if you're expecting too much results, ama results zako zikuje too soon, you're going to be frustrated by that expectation, and by that you'll go back to the same place you were. Kama ni job ulikuwa you're not seeing results, utarudi pale. So he's encouraging, anasema neje, trust that process of change. Change is not only the end results, change is also the process. Hizo time yenye una fight na depression, hiyo time yenye una fight na that fear, that great fear, niaje by the way now nimequit, I'm suffering totally, nyumba yangu iko almost kufungwa. That's when you grow. So that was that. Those are the 4 points I got from this inspired. I was inspired by reading this book, Home of My Cheese. A very nice read. You can try it. Yeah. So we'll stop it here for today. But make sure you get this copy from our authorized sellers, and of course, enjoy it. One more thing, make sure you recommend also, as venye umeona hapa. By the way, acha ni shout out the fan. Ni mdogo anaitwa Akinyi. Yeah, she just texted and she said, you know what? She's 14 years old, by the way. I forgot to mention she's 14. I don't know where at 14 years ulikuwa unafanya nini. Mi hata vitabu, I don't know kama hata ni, I don't know. Mi hata kusomea exam. I knew nothing about books. Totally. So Akinyi, shout out to you. Thank you for subscribing and also watching Book Plug Podcast until to a point you're suggesting books to us and for us to have a preview with. So you can also recommend any book. And of course, pia kama umesoma hii kitabu, you can also tell us your experience with the book. Not exactly what the book is talking about or what the book is teaching, but what you got after reading this book. The inspiration, don't just read and then preempt everything that the author has said there. Just tell us the experience. Challenge yourself to a point yenye you want to struggle so much with your mind until ikupatie umepata nini wewe kiwewe. So you can also comment hapo tuambie ulipataje kama you've read it, and if not, you can also recommend a book for the next episode. Episode next will be episode 8. You don't want to miss that one. Make sure you subscribe to this. Also follow us on our social media handles to make sure that niaje haupitwi na chochote chenye tunashare kwa hii podcast. Sawa. Mimi naitwa Kim. Nowadays najiita Street Philosopher. Tutajua kwa nini tukiendelea na hii kazi. I'll see you on the next one. Hii hapa ni Book Plug.